How's it going on this very crispy, fresh December morning? I clearly chose the wrong gloves today because I can't feel my fingers. But that's kind of winter dog training. I probably don't feel my fingers from December until March. What are you going to do? You know, when you're handling a long line, you can't have big fat mitts on and stuff like that. So just is what it is. And I'm out with Koba today. Hey Koba, let's show me your left turn. Koba! Koba! Beautiful! Pretty sharp on his heeling right now. And you know what, I just had him running around on the long line for a little bit, enjoying some fun out here at the park. This morning was the first day I could use my backyard again, so we were so excited to get a house so that we had a backyard. But from the dogs kind of zigzagging around in the wetter weather in October, I made a couple of big empty patches of where there's no grass. And then over the last month, they just turned into like mud areas. So I couldn't let the dogs out to run because the ground's been too soft. And every time I've tried, they just started tearing up more grass. So today everything's frozen solid. So it's been nice to let the dogs out for a run this morning in the backyard. So everybody's happy. And Koba and I are just finishing up our training for today. And I'm going to go inside and thaw my face out. Koba! Good boy, bud. What I wanted to address today is a training technique that I see quite frequently in this neighborhood. Actually, I shouldn't say see. It's a training technique I hear quite frequently in this neighborhood. And that is yelling. Yelling. It seems to be the new neighborhood that I live in, their favorite technique for training a dog. Like there's at least been 20 households I've walked by in the last week. Koba! Good boy. Where I can just hear screaming. Well, I mean, typically what it is, so I've mentioned this before in an earlier video with previous board and train Watson. When we first moved into this area, I started getting a lot of comments from people. I've had one lady scream at me about using a prong collar. I was here with clients one evening with our dogs in a downstay, and a guy came through with his completely out of control dogs on retractables. And just was yelling at us, "It's not an off-leash dog park." I was like, dude, our dogs are lying there. So it's kind of a strange neighborhood. And I gotta say, this neighborhood, per capita of anywhere I've been, has more unruly, uncontrollable, poor behavior from dogs than I've ever seen. And there's at least 20 houses in this area where I walk, where as I go by, the dog is losing it in the front window, just like barking, clawing at the window. Like a few houses, I'm like, oh, it's coming through the window for sure. Koba, good boy. And then it's usually followed by, "Shut up!" Like some huge scream from inside, "Be quiet! I said no barking!" And it's always followed by some sort of screaming, and then the dog's just continuing to bark, because clearly that owner's training technique is simply yelling, and there's no consequence, right? If you want to rid unwanted behaviors, you've got to correct them. There has to be a consequence. Let's be honest about that. So I don't care what kind of consequence you're using, like a boat air horn, you know, little pet corrector air horn can, water bottle, leash and collar pop, an e-collar, a bark collar. I don't, whatever technique that's fair that you're using, that's great. But if you don't have something like that, if you just kind of yell quiet and then there's no consequence, why would the dog be quiet? Why do you think that your words and being angry has such a powerful meaning to the dog? If I yell at a dog and then there's no follow-up, like I don't do anything, even yelling, it's not going to mean anything to the dog. The dog's just like, that's your consequence? It's like a bratty kid. If you're just like, "You're going to a timeout," the kid's like, "All right, cool, I'll go to my room and watch some TV." Like, that's no punishment, right? So without the appropriate consequence, you're never going to see a behavior change, especially when a dog's losing it, going Looney Tunes in the window, man. You know, and the other thing about yelling is yelling just makes you look like a fucking unstable fruitcake to your dog. Like, your dog's just going to go, "Oh, great, it's, you know, Mr. Hyde today. Where's Dr. Jekyll?" Like, you're just going to flip-flop back and forth into these different personalities, where one minute you're kind of nice and kind and sweet, and the next minute you're just losing your shit. Yeah, it just doesn't look good to your dog. I mean, humans don't want to follow unstable leaders. Donald Trump, sorry, I had something in my throat. And you know, a dog doesn't want to follow an unstable leader either. So instead of yelling, like if you just had the appropriate consequence, the dog would just go, oh, okay, so if I continue barking, you give me a quick pop on the leash. Okay, fair is fair. Then when you say quiet, I'll be quiet. All right, anyway, I'm gonna get back to training with Koba, because just doing some turns on the walk is not getting him trained, so I gotta get to it, and we'll talk to you later.